Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bible study. Well, you'll see my face isn't up on the screen again today. Yesterday, I thought I forgot to turn my mic on, and that's why I didn't have any audio on my video file. Today, there was no audio again, so I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more. We are talking about 1 Samuel 18, and the PDF is up on the screen, and I think that's probably what you're most interested in. You can download that on our website if you want it. Let's talk about our first section. When did the events of chapter 18 happen? Well, specifically, we're probably in around 1023 BC, and maybe the years immediately following that. That is an approximate date, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhat close. The key players in this chapter are going to be mostly familiar to you if you've been studying with us. First, we've got David. David was a young man. He was selected to be the second king of Israel, but he wasn't king yet. Saul is still king, and that's going to cause some tension, as we'll read about in this chapter. Jonathan, we're going to talk about him. He was Saul's son, and he was David's best friend. That's also going to be a source of tension. Another source of tension is going to be the fact that David marries Saul's daughter. His daughter's name was Michal. Yes, you heard me correctly, Michal. And now to our map. We're not going to laser focus in on a particular city in this chapter, but we're going to talk about David's victories over the Philistines. The Philistines lived in cities towards the Mediterranean coast. Cities like Ekron, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gaza, and Gath. Now, moving over to our outline, you might be relieved to see it's a little bit shorter than yesterday. Our first section, David and Jonathan become friends. This is verses 1 through 4. So after the defeat of Goliath, which we talked about in the last chapter, David and Jonathan became really good friends, fast friends, it seems. The text says, quote, "The soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David," in verse 1. But to complicate things, we jump into section 2, verses 5 through 16, David's success and Saul's jealousy. So after the defeat of Goliath, Saul set David over his men of war, and David won several victories against the Philistines. The women of Israel actually started singing about David. They sung that Saul had defeated thousands, but David had defeated tens of thousands. And this made Saul jealous, and he was worried that David was going to take the kingdom from him. Twice he actually tried to kill David. You think, wow, that escalated quickly. Yeah, it kind of did. We see Saul kind of going mad here, becoming paranoid. He tried to kill David twice with a spear, but David was able to evade him both times. He ended up demoting David to be the commander of only 1,000 men. But God worked through those 1,000 men. He gave David success in everything that he did, and the people of Israel grew to love him. Throwing spears at David didn't work, so that brings us to our third section, verses 17 through 30. Saul tries to trick David by offering his daughters in marriage. So since Saul couldn't kill David himself, and David was successful even though he got demoted, Saul devised a plan to have Israel's enemies take care of David for him. Saul offered his daughter Merab to David in marriage in exchange for David agreeing to fight in wars against the Philistines. He was hoping that David would be killed in action, and then that would solve his problem. But the plan didn't work out, and he ended up giving his daughter Merab to another man. However, he had another daughter, and he found out that his daughter Michal loved David. And so he offered her to David in exchange for 100 Philistine foreskins. Why foreskins? I do not know, but that was the agreement. Saul was hoping, though, that the Philistines would get the better of David and he would be killed before he was able to collect all 100. David thought this evidently was a good idea. He accepted the offer, and he brought Saul 200 foreskins, double what he asked for. And he ended up marrying Saul's daughter. And so from that day forward, the text says that Saul was David's enemy continually. He's always paranoid. He's always worried. He's always worried about losing his throne. And he is going to lose his throne because God had rejected him as king. And that takes us to our application section. If God is against you, no amount of scheming, planning, or luck will help you succeed against his will. Saul tried and failed several times to kill David because he was fighting against a man who had God as an ally. You can't fight against God and win. It's better to join him and to serve him than to spend your life struggling pathetically against an all-powerful adversary. I know that sometimes it looks like evil is getting the upper hand, but look, we already know who wins. Jesus has already shown us how God wins. God wins in the end. So don't be on the loser side. Join the winning side. Join God's side.